So why couldn't European colonizers recognize the indigenous food forest systems they were finding around the world? Native peoples were like, these are our gardens. And the Europeans were like, this is wild, untouched nature. One reason is that these traditional gardening styles compared to Western gardening was just so easy that people were spending very little time in producing their own food. In fact, scholars like Marshall Salins have pointed out these systems produce all the community's needs on just a dozen hours of casual work per week. And the key to those easy, low-work gardens is figuring out ways to work with nature instead of wasting time and energy fighting nature. For a good example, permaculture founder Bill Mulson asked Australian Aboriginal farmers how they did things before colonizers came and messed it all up. And they told him they gardened in warus. Now, the closest thing we have in English is the word guild, which means a group of people working together for mutual benefit. So permaculturists today still use these words waru and guild to recognize the indigenous contribution. So we end up with gardens that look like this, more like what we find in natural plant communities. So we think of all the jobs we have to do in the garden, and then we think about how we could get plants to do that work for us, like fertilizing the garden and repelling pests and carting around mulch. Because if we can get these plants to do the work, then we don't have to do it. For example, this cool trimmed oregano hedge fights weeds and grass encroachment from the garden, and it makes the garden look cool and formal. These walking onions are another fortress plant that repels weeds, and it's a pest repellent plant that keeps a lot of pests away from the garden. This skirt, like most carrot family plants, attracts beneficial insects to the garden that help with pollination and help fight off pests. Living mulches reduce weeds and conserve water. And I can chop and drop big old mulch maker plants like this one here so I don't have to cart mulch around the garden. And they also help fertilize things for me. Even this teensy patch of lawn helps reduce slugs for me. Now this garden is a waru, and it looks kind of like a natural ecosystem, and it requires a whole lot less work to maintain. Sometimes I wonder, with all these plants doing the work for me, am I even the gardener anymore?